PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Do you ever feel like you're normal and the rest of the world has lost its collective mind?
Put your helmet on. We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
Do you find people saying this to you a lot?
Are you totally deranged?
Are you looking for a looking glass to pass through?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Or looking for a rabbit hole to fall down?
Who could think of a better punishment, really? Everything's the same here, it's just a little worse.
Guess what?
Life's a bitch. Now so am I.
You've found it. Welcome to Platinum Rose's Garden.
Well, hello, my darlings. This is Platinum Rose Lady in Platinum Rose's Garden, and I'm talking to you on May 20th, 2017. Now, I know at the beginning of my show, I usually ask how your week was, and I do all that kind of small talky bullshit that we get into before we get to the actual stuff you came for. Fuck that noise. This week we're going right to it. Here's this week's double Supernatural episode recap.
Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest.
Season 12, episode 22 of Supernatural, Who We Are. The then, it has a lot to encompass, and we're going back quite a ways. We begin the then segment with Walt and Roy, two hunters who had a run-in with Sam and Dean back in episode 5, Dark Side of the Moon, where they fatally shot Sam and Dean, blaming them for jump-starting the apocalypse. We have a shot of Jody, Sheriff Jody Mills, whom we love, and we also have the heartbreaking end of last week's episode where we see that Mary Winchester has been brainwashed by the British men of letters, and that Sam and Dean have been sealed inside the bunker with Lady Tony Bevel, who was betrayed by Mr. Ketch. And Ketch tells them that the doors are now going to be locked once he and Mary leave, and the pumps that have been letting in air will be stopped and start pumping air out, and the Winchesters and Tony should have about 3 days worth of air left. And now we get to now, with the Winchesters still trapped in the bunker, as far as we know, and we see Mary killing another hunter, because the British men of letters have ordered all American hunters killed. She calls in for more instructions and is given texted another list of hunters to be killed, and the hunter's name on the end of the list is Jody Mills. Cut back to the Batcave, which is now supposedly going to be Sam and Dean's tomb. We know Tony's there too, but honestly, I don't give a shit, and I don't think most of you do either. Dean is of the opinion that they should just flat out kill Tony, which I'm perfectly fine with. But Tony says that she needs to be kept alive by the Winchesters because she tells them she's the only one that can break the brainwashing that Mary's been put under, and she's the only one that can bring their mother back. And I'm like, oh, fuck. You know, I was like, I had a feeling that was going to be your excuse, you fucking... I'm not going to use that word here. Not yet. They try to do a manual override. They can't do the manual override because the manual override switch is outside the bunker. Sam suggests using magic. And we cut to day 1 of them trapped, and they're going to try a ritual, which I think they said it was a Roma ritual, so that would be gypsy magic. or Roma magic. I'm not really sure I don't know if gypsy's a bad term anymore. I'm not sure if it is. I'm sorry. The only thing is that the spell is supposed to work its way around technology, which would, be great. Then they could get out. But the problem is the spell needs virgin blood to work. We know Sam and Dean aren't virgins, and it turns out, well, we knew Tony wasn't a virgin either because she has a child and she's certainly not a candidate for the Immaculate Conception Part 2. But they do a spell, a purifying spell, to revirginate the blood that they use, and it almost seems like that part of it actually worked because they tried the spell to circumvent the technology. The lights start flickering, stuff starts shaking, and it really does seem like stuff is working, and then it's not. As it turns out, Mr. Ketch planned on them using magic to try and find their way out and put in a magical failsafe so spells won't get them out because, of course, because why fucking not? Ketch, you magnificent bastard. We get to day 2, and Sam and Dean try to do the next best thing. Since brains don't work, we try brawn. And they're trying to bust a wall down with sheer brawn and pickaxes. I don't know if I saw a sledgehammer in there, because if I did, I would have done a Triple H joke, but I didn't see one. Sorry. Obviously, this isn't going as well as if they'd like it to, because A, there's a lot of fucking concrete, and B, the air is getting thin. Sam brings it up, and he knows that Dean's noticed it too. And they decide break time, which I don't really blame them for, since they're breaking their backs, and I don't fucking see Tony doing jack fucking shit, fucking bitch. And Sam and Dean sit down for a minute to try and, catch their breath, and they actually talk. I mean, really talk. Nobody's doing the whole I'm fine shit. We're actually discussing things like, people do. And, Dean brings up the fact that for a little while, he thought they actually had everything going their way and things were actually going to work out. They had gotten Castiel back. Their mother was with them. Things weren't exactly wonderful, perfect, great, but they had them with them. And now everybody, they're kind of completely on their own. They know Castiel's with Kelly Klein, or they think Castiel's with Kelly Klein. They know their mom is brainwashed. And Sam being Sam, because he's just this, that's who he is, blames himself. He says how he fell for the British men of letters and their lies. He thought they were doing the right thing, that Hunter's working on the scale that the British men of letters promised, working with all this advanced tech. They killed the alpha vampire, for fuck's sake. He thought they were he thought this was the right way to go, that they could do a lot of good. And that once he was involved with them, he just went along with it. He says it was easier. And when Dean asks him, easier than what? Sam says, easier than leading. Okay, heartbreak number 1 of the episode, because I just wanted to take Sam, hold him to my bosom, stroke his hair, and be like, it's alright, it's not your fault, I love you, it's not your fault. Can't help it, Sam is on, deal. They start talking about the whole, did they think this is how they were going to go out? And Dean says that it's not. He thought that they would, he wants to go, or wanted to go out like Butch and Sundance, the whole blaze of glory thing. And there's something about the phrase blaze of glory that you can just kind of see the light go off in Dean's eyes. And Dean has an idea. And the idea can be summed up in 2 little words. Rocket launcher. Which, the grenade launcher actually, it should say grenade launcher, not rocket launcher. The grenade launcher, in which Dean gets in a very nice reference to Die Hard, not the whole phrase, because, it might not be straight, network TV, but you still can't say yippee-ki-yay motherfucker at 8:00 at night on non-HBO anyway. And so the Dean fires, we get a commercial, we come back, there is a shit ton of smoke and debris and stuff like that. Sam is calling for his brother through the hole in the wall, but the air's obviously gotten a whole lot thinner, and Sam's probably also dealing with, concussion waves from the grenade launcher, rocket, and kind of he's gasping for air and kind of falls to the ground. And all of a sudden, the lights come on, and thankfully the air starts pumping again. The door opens up, and a bloodied but unbowed Dean fucking Winchester walks through the door and looks down at Sam, who's gotten up, and he's, Dean's above him because they have the stairs going down. Grins and says to Sam, "Hey, lunatic." Harken back to Tony's caustic remark that the Winchesters were lunatics for trying to get out of there using the grenade launcher. Hey, guess what, bitch? It worked. Of course, the thing is, this obviously did not completely... Dean may be unbowed, but he's not exactly unbloodied because his leg is obviously severely fucked up. His pants are gashed open and there's copious amounts of the red stuff, and I don't mean marinara sauce. We cut to South Dakota, where Jody answers the door, and it's Mary looking friendly and concerned and asking if she can come in. We see the Impala with Tony handcuffed in the car, while Sam and Dean are on the phone outside the car, on the phone warning other hunters about what's gone down. Sam and Dean take off to Jody's place, and they find the door opened and a bloody Mary tied to a chair with a gag in her mouth. Alex is also home, which I was really excited to see Catherine Ramdean back. That was really awesome. Unfortunately, she didn't have a lot to do in the episode other than be, she's using her medical knowledge because she is learning to be a nurse. It was just, I was like, "Hi, Catherine." I was so excited. Jody explains that Mary came in and attacked her, and they managed to, Jody managed to subdue her, so obviously that's a good thing. The problem is when the Winchesters are like, "Well, fix our mom," to Tony. Tony says she can't undo the brainwashing. She only said that so the Winchesters wouldn't kill her. And Dean's all set to kill her right now, and I'm sitting there going, "Do it. Shoot her. Shoot the bitch. Dean, do it now!" The problem is that Mr. Ketch keeps calling on Mary's phone trying to reach her, and Tony says that she could, Tony says that what Sam and Dean should do is run. The Winchesters are of the opinion, fuck that, they're going to fight. And they're going to bring the fight to the British men of letters. They wind up calling pretty much every hunter they can in the area, and we see quite a few hunters that we've never seen before, older people, a younger lady, and Roy and Walt from the episode I mentioned back in season 5, Dark Side of the Moon. That was kind of awkward because Roy and Walt are kind of like, haven't seen you guys talking about Sam and Dean since, and Dean finishes up with, "You killed us? No hard feelings." I'm like, Dean, I seriously hope you don't mean that, and you do plan to shoot both these guys in the balls later on. Hopefully. Sam makes this incredibly impassioned, beautifully spoken, incredibly... I can't even... Oh, man. This was like a Kenneth Branagh speech from a Shakespearean play or something. Sam makes this speech to the other hunters about the British men of letters and what they've done and how the Winchesters got involved with them, but they realize now that, this is... The British men of letters are a bigger threat than any of the monsters they've ever dealt with, and when Roy asks what they want, the Winchesters, what they want from these other hunters, Sam tells them they want them to follow him, to take the fight to the British men of letters. Basically to kill them before they kill all of the American hunters. And oh my gosh, this scene was just so holy fucking crap. I mean, this was like that whole we happy few, we band of brothers from Henry, whichever play that was. I'm sorry, my Shakespeare's a little rusty. Jared Padalecki did such, oh my gosh, it was so stellar and so amazing. And I'm just sitting there going, I would follow you to the gate of hell. I would fight every demon you told me to fight because you told me to. And not just because I love you, but because you're right. You know, you are right, dude. You know, and I thought it was so amazing. It was such a great scene. And the hunters all agree, which I was like, damn. I figured maybe Roy and Walt might put up a fight, but they're all like, every hunter's there is like, we're with you. The thing is, they get ready to go. They're gonna like leave in 10 minutes. And Dean tells Sam he's not going with them. He's too hurt. You know, he'd slow them down. And also, he says that Sam's ready. Which I was like, wow. And he tells Sam that what he's going to do is save their mother. He says that he's going to get their real mother back, that she's in that brainwashed shell somewhere, and he's going to get her back. Alex is going to be going to stay with Donna and tells Jody to kick it in the ass. I was like, yeah. I was like, fuck yeah. Dean tells Sam, you come back. And Sam says, promise. Dean says, bitch. Sam says, jerk. There's a bro hug. And I am squealing like a 12-year-old girl at a Justin Bieber concert. Okay, maybe a One Direction concert. That's entirely less douchey. Oh, gosh. I was like, I know a lot of people have had problems with this season. I haven't had the problems other people have. I just haven't. Whatevs. But I was like, everything that you guys did wrong this season, right there, that was so right. That was so fucking perfect and so fucking right. Tony says she will need her gear to try and unbrainwash Mary. She apparently can do it, but she'd need her gear, which is at the Batcave. We cut to the British Men of Letters stronghold and Dr. Hess telling her people that they're basically gonna go kill everybody. And I mean fucking everybody. This woman is fucking crazy. I'm listening to what she's telling these people, and she's telling them there are to be no survivors and no witnesses. She basically tells them you can kill anybody you want as long as you kill all the hunters that are in the room. And I'm sitting there going, what the actual fuck did you just say, you fucking Umbridge? I was like, oh my god, you people are worse than any monsters the Winchesters have ever faced short of Lucifer. You people are fucking terrorists. You know, I'm sorry. They're fucking fanatics. I mean, there's no other way to put it. These people are fucking insane. Ketch goes to one of the tech British Men of Letter people and asks her to find Mary and apparently using Mary's phone to like ping and do all that technical IT shit that I don't get because I don't. Technical shit and math, fuck that. And the tech person tells him she's in Lebanon, Kansas. I'm like, thanks for giving that away, bitch. I hope you die too. Tony goes to get her gear. She's at the Batcave with Mary and Dean, obviously. And she asks Dean something that I was like, I know this is supposed to make you sympathetic with us, but it's not. She asks Dean that once everything goes down, if they actually survive all of this shit, she asks Dean for a head start. she's basically saying that she wants a head start because she wants to see her son again. And I know that that's in there because that's supposed to engender sympathy for Tony and all that stuff like that. I understand that. You know what? Fuck you. You hurt Sam. I don't care if you get thrown into the center of the sun. Sorry. Not sorry. So, we're back at the, we cut back to the British Men of Letters base where these guys are and these guys are fucking getting ready for war. And back at the Batcave, we have Mary in one chair and Dean in another chair. And Tony gives Mary a combination of drugs and sedatives and all this shit in the neck. I'm like, ow, you know, I'm sorry, I slept through biology class. I totally admit that. But I would think giving people a shot in the neck, you're running a very good chance of piercing something that, you know, arterial spray, all that kind of stuff. Whatever, you know what you're doing. The thing is, Mary and Dean are linked also with these electrodes, you know, on each of their heads. What Tony's basically going to do is get Dean inside Mary's head to break the brainwashing. She also gives Dean this shot in the neck after telling him it's going to hurt, and obviously taking pleasure in telling him it's going to hurt, bitch. And Dean's eyes kind of flutter closed, and when he wakes up, well, he's not really awake. When he comes to where he is his house, the house that he was in when he was a little boy, you know. And he walks over to a crib, and there's Sam as a baby, as a little 6-month-old baby. And his mother comes in the room, and she's his mother. She's this, you know, beautiful figure that he remembered from his childhood. And she bends over the crib and she's talking to the baby, and he also sees himself when he was a little boy. And he calls to Mary, but she doesn't answer him. And he keeps calling to her. As the screen goes black, we hear his voice echoing as he's saying "Mom," and the screen goes black. And I was like, oh. I'm like, heart in mouth again. Thank you, show. We see the hunters breaching the British Men of Letters base. I mean, literally driving cars and trucks and all that stuff through the gates. You know, enormous gunfight happening. And we cut back to Dean, who is watching his mother in the kitchen. She's in the kitchen of their house with himself as a little boy. She's giving him a sandwich, and he's trying to get her attention, and she's talking to the little boy version of Dean, and she's talking about how they'll go to the park later, and she's also taken out a fresh pie from the oven and stuff like that, which she says is for later. And I just thought it was so incredibly cute when little Dean's eyes lit up over the pie. I was like, that's just adorable. You know, I just can't friggin' stand it. That's so cute. But the thing is, while Dean, the adult Dean, it keeps talking to her and keeps trying to reach her, we realize as the audience, as he's reaching her, and we're going, why won't she answer him? You know, maybe, and you know, at first I was kind of like, maybe she doesn't see him or hear him. But the way that she's moving and stuff like that, and the look in her eyes, we start to realize she can hear him. She can hear everything that the grown-up Dean is saying. That she is in a memory kind of a thing, but this is also, it's more than a memory. It's a safe place. It's where the real Mary is. And she's hiding. She's not responding to Dean, not because she can't hear him, but because she doesn't want to hear him. It's really like, oh, no. And then Dean says something that I was like, what? He says to his mom, I hate you. And I literally was like, I was, oh my, what? That floored me. And the pain in Dean's voice when he said it just shredded my heart. The hunters wind up making it into the British Men of Letters base, obviously not without casualties on both sides. There is a shit ton of people getting shot in this scene. I mean, there's smoke bombs going off and, firefights and, like I said, copious amounts of gunfire, with British Men of Letters members being shot left and right. And also, Roy winds up getting shot and killed by one of the guards. And I still don't feel bad about that because Roy was a douche nozzle. So, sorry, there it is. We cut back to Mary's mind, and Dean is still talking to her, still trying to reach her. He says that she lied to him. That she had said she'd keep him safe, but because of the deal that she made with Azazel, to save John all those years ago, it did save John, but in 1983, on November 2nd, Azazel came into their house and bled into Sammy's mouth because she had made that deal, and that was her part of the deal, to let Azazel come in when he wanted to. And, and then she left, she was killed. And because she died, John became this driven, crazed with revenge hunter that wound up raising his boys like soldiers. And that he had to be more to Sam than just be Sam's brother. He had to be his dad and his mom and keep him safe. And he tells his mother that it wasn't fair and that he couldn't do it. And that because of the deal she made, all the things that Sam went through. And this was the part that was ripping me into two, because other people would have said all the things I've been through. But Dean's not talking about all the things that he's been through, all the things that hurt him, the fact that he went to hell for 40 years and was tortured and all this horrible stuff. He's talking about what happened to Sam. How, because of the deal she made, that Jess was killed, that Sam got possessed by the devil, that he had been tortured in hell, that at one point he didn't have a soul. And Dean lays all that on Mary and tells her, all of it was because of you. I hate you. I hate you and I love you. 'Cause I can't help it. You're my mom. And he talks about the deals that other people had made to save the people they love. I mean, he's obviously referring back to the deal that John made with Azazel and the deal he made with the Crossroad Demon. And he also tells her that he forgives her. That he forgives her for everything that happened. And he tells her, he's not really asking, he's telling her that they can start over as a family, her and him and Sam, that this time they can get it right. But he asks her, he tells her, for that to happen, he needs her to fight, and he needs her to fight now. He needs her to look at him and see him. He says, Mom, I need you to see me. Please. And Mary turns and looks at him. And, I mean, really looks at him. And she calls his name. And all of a sudden, Dean is yanked out of it and back in the real world. And we realize why, because Mr. Ketch has severed the connection between Dean and his mother, and he has also killed Lady Tony. She's there, it looks like she's propped up in a chair, and her throat has been slit. And pretty much the only reason she probably got killed is because before Dean had gone into this state, into this shared consciousness state to help his mom, Dean had handcuffed Tony to the equipment so she couldn't get away. So probably because she couldn't get away was the reason Mr. Ketch was able to grab her and slit her throat. And I know we're supposed to feel bad about that. I don't. I'm not the least bit sorry she's dead. Good riddance, bitch. So there it is. But of course, we don't know if the treatment worked, if Mary's unbrainwashed. But we do know that what follows next is one of the most vicious fights I have ever seen between Dean and Ketch. That is, I mean, it's bloody, it is vicious, it is nasty, and there's also a little bit of emotional torture thrown in by Ketch, and it is a horribly difficult scene to watch, which basically culminates in Dean grabbing a piece of broken furniture and grabbing a large hunk of wood and battering the shit out of Mr. Ketch with it. Is it wrong that that turned me on? Fuck it, I don't care. I'm a woman, I have needs, don't judge me. The problem is that Dean has a piece of wood, but Ketch still has a gun, because he's a fucking bastard. And, somebody I knew in my life at one point said, karate don't stop bullets, and wood don't usually stop bullets either. Ketch prepares to shoot Dean, and all of a sudden is shot from behind in the shoulder by Mary. And I was like, fuck yes! Ketch says that the Winchesters are all killers, and Dean agrees with him. Dean says, you're right. And Mary shoots Mr. Ketch in the head and kills him. And I was like, I need a cigarette. And I don't smoke. I think at that point I probably would have smoked a shoe. I know I would have kissed Samantha Smith right on the mouth. Dr. Hess, meanwhile, can't get away from the hunters fast enough. And she does manage to lock herself in a panic room, or try to lock herself in a panic room, but a little C4 solves that problem. Dr. Hess tries to bargain for her life by showing Sam some of the surveillance photos that the British men of letters have gotten. She's also on the phone, she's also talking via laptop with a elder member of the British men of letters. We hear an older man's voice through the computer. They can't portal her out. Pretty much it sounds like they're getting ready to cut her dry, cut her loose before the door gets blown off. As I said, Hess tries to bargain for her life, telling Sam that Lucifer is back on Earth, and that Crowley is dead, and that Lucifer's back and looking for his son, and trying to find her and Castiel. She says that if Lucifer gets his hands on his child, that's game over. She says that she tells Sam that they can't face this alone, that the American hunters need help from the British men of letters. And the voice on the laptop says that Sam should listen to her. Sam looks her right in the face while he's got his gun aimed at her and says, pass, and shoots the laptop. Dr. Hess goes for a gun, and Jody shoots her in the head and kills her. And I'm like, yes! Suck it, bitch! That felt so good. Oh, that felt so gosh darn good. I don't use the other word, sorry. But I was like, oh, that felt magnificent. Could we see that scene again several times? In slow motion, maybe? Multiple angle shots? I want to see this bitch die over and over and over and over again. Sorry. Can't help it. You know, you hurt the Winchesters, we hurt you. We see the hunters driving away from the British Men of Letters base as the base starts to explode. Hopefully whatever they use to, like, set off, you know, the bombs and stuff like that, hopefully it's going to burn everything down, because I'd really hate to see what's going to happen when the police show up and find a shit ton of dead bodies and, you know, all that tech, because I really don't think Sam and all the other hunters could carry all that tech with them, but I digress. Whatever. They know what they're doing. Back at the Batcave, we see Mary and Dean, and Mary's trying to process everything, although she feels responsible for all of what's happened, even though she completely wasn't responsible for what she was doing when she was brainwashed. I mean, you can't, you know, crying out loud. Dean won't let her shoulder all that blame. She says that since she's been back, she knows that she's been distant from the brothers and even cold. You know, but I mean, it's something that she mentioned before, and I understand where she's coming from. I mean, when Mary died, Sam was a 6-month-old baby, and Dean was a 4-year-old little boy. And now here she is, you know, decades in the future. John's dead. Her sons are 2 grown men that she doesn't know. You know, it's not like she was in heaven watching them grow up. She was in heaven in her own little private happy place where her family was still together and everything was great. So when she came back to life, when she was brought back to life by the darkness, you know, by Amara, it was a lot to take in. And that, you know, when she left Sam and Dean again and started working with the British Men of Letters, she was trying to do the right thing, just trying to do it from far away, because being with Sam and Dean now, it hurt too much. And seeing Sam and Dean as adults and knowing all the things Sam and Dean had been through and feeling like it was all of her fault. Dean tells her, you know, what Mary had to do, the deal that saved John, you know, that everything that had happened, it made Sam and Dean the people that they are. And those people are really amazing people. Dean says, we saved the world. And he's right. I mean, he's right. I mean, Sam and Dean Winchester are proof that you don't need a cape, and you don't need, you know, you don't need a shield, and you don't need a magic hammer, or a golden lasso, or an invisible jet, or anything like that to be a hero. Sam and Dean are fucking superheroes. I mean, all that other shit is nice, you know, and it's helpful, but they save the world. And I don't really think, I mean, the biggest thing you can say about a superhero is if you say, what do superheroes do? They save the world. Sam and Dean have saved the world fucking numerous fucking times. What else do you need to be a superhero other than that? But Mary says she's afraid Sam can't forgive her. And all of a sudden there's another voice in the room, and Sam says, Mom, you don't have to be scared of me. And Sam, big giant Sam, takes his mom, who's really kind of petite and small compared to him, into this really loving hug. And Dean joins in on the hug. And it's just this really warm, wonderful family embrace. And the episode ends. Oh, wow. Who We Are gets 5 bouquets out of 5 from me. Such an amazing episode. Just fucking fantastic. Robert Behrens, fucking bravo to you, sir. I mean, seriously. Fuck me. Gently with a chainsaw. This episode was friggin' amazing. Everybody did such a stellar job. I mean, both Jared and Jensen had these scenes where they had these chunks of dialogue that if they are both not nominated for an Emmy for, there is something seriously fucking wrong with this country. Fucking for real. Although we lost a shit ton of people in this episode. David Hayden Jones, yeah. So, well, David, your character was a fucking asshole, dude. I'm sorry. There it is. Your character was a fucking creep. And I'm really not sorry he's dead. So there it is. But you're a great guy, David. Welcome to the Supernatural family. Hooray! Elizabeth Blackmore as Lady Tony Elizabeth is a fantastic actress because I know she was really, really trying, and the way the lines were written, I know that a lot of people were probably like, well, they've made her more human and we're trying to be more sympathetic to her, but all my mind is doing is saying she hurt Sam, she mind raped Sam, fuck her, she's dead. I guess pretty much the only thing I can say about your character is that I'm sorry we didn't get to see it happen in slow motion, because I would have enjoyed that. Lady Tony did one decent thing by helping Dean reach out to his mom and get her back. Other than that, bitch, bye. Also, Samantha Smith, so fantastic as Mary. The brainwashed Mary and the actual real Mary Winchester, just fantastic. Kim Rhodes, Kim, you just, you're just beyond cool. You're just beyond cool. As I said before, it was so great to see Catherine Ramdeen back as Alex for just a teeny bit. You know, I was like, no, wait, more Alex, come back. But, you know, obviously Alex isn't a hunter and we wouldn't want anything bad to happen to her. So I was like, well, hopefully we'll see you again. I had made a remark to Catherine about fanfic for starring Alex, and she said she'd read the fuck out of it if it happened. I'm holding you to that, Catherine. I'm gonna write me some fanfic and put Alex in it, and I hope you read it. I also should say to the woman who played Dr. Hess, Gillian Barber, who has actually appeared on Supernatural another time, which I think is really interesting. She appeared in the episode Faith as a different character, Mrs. Rourke, and, you know, made Dr. Hess such a truly evil, hateful, irredeemable, unlikable, absolutely awful, aching for her death character who was about about 10 shades worse than Dolores Umbridge. Great job, Miss Barber. Really great. Although watching you die really, really made me happy. Watching your character die. I'm sure you're a lovely person. And good luck in your future endeavors, because you're not coming back to Supernatural. Last, but certainly not least, I want to say a big round of applause and general yayness to Anthony Bolognese. I don't know how you say your name. I'm sorry. Anthony, who was the young actor that played young Dean. who hopefully will not hear my podcast because it's very sweary, and obviously we don't want small children to hear bad language. Jared and Jensen would be very unhappy with me because they've got kids and they probably don't want people swearing around their kids, so they probably wouldn't want me swearing around other people's kids. But can't help it. I get passionate. I get sweary. Anthony, you did such an amazing job as young Dean. You really, really captured Dean's character, and you're just too cute to boot. You're just fantastic. And as I said, I wrote to him on Twitter real quick. In a couple years, when we see Anthony getting his first Emmy out of many, I'm sure he'll get when he gets older, if he keeps acting, I hope he remembers us weird Supernatural fans that saw him and thought he was terrific. So, we had episode 22. Now we gotta get to the season finale, episode 23 of season 12, All Along the Watchtower, which begins, as every Supernatural season finale has begun since season 1, with Kansas's Carry On Wayward Son. That song never stops being awesome. I'm sorry. Also, real quick, before I get to the actual episode itself, All Along the Watchtower, I always knew as a Jimi Hendrix song, Jimi Hendrix and, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Great song and stuff like that. I always assumed that Jimmy wrote that. Turned out I was wrong. During research for this episode, I found out that Bob Dylan actually wrote that song. So I was like, oh, wow, neat. So thank you, Super Wiki, for that. So obviously we get to the then, which is played with Carry On Wayward Son, and the words on the screen we see every season, those 4 little words, the road so far. And the road so far, sorry, drink of water, dry throat. The road so far is the twisty, turny, completely insane path of how we got to where we are in season 12. The Winchesters being broken out of Supermax prison by the men of letters, the British men of letters, Mary being, taken out of heaven by Amara, being reunited with her sons, and how that went quickly into shit town. The whole fact that the president of the United States was possessed at one point by Lucifer, and while Lucifer was in the president's body, he was boning one of his workers, a young woman named Kelly Klein, that Lucifer managed to get pregnant. So Kelly winds up carrying a nephilium. We found out this season about the princes of hell, and that 2 of them are now no longer living, and which makes me wonder if there's at least one of them still out there. And Castiel deciding at one point, after feeling the power of the baby, that the baby should be born with its full powers, and Castiel knocking out Sam and Dean so he could escape with Kelly to make that happen. The British men of letters declaring war on American hunters, Mary winding up being brainwashed. Now Mary's no longer brainwashed. Crowley was dead. Lucifer's free. And basically we are at Panic Town point, 912. And we are at Now. And Now is in a small house on a lake near North Cove, Washington. My husband would be very happy. He loved her time in Washington State. And Castiel is in this small house with Kelly. Kelly is trying, and the accent here is on trying, to put together baby furniture, the baby crib, because she is very, very pregnant. Having a nephilium, which is the result of what happens when a human and an archangel, usually just an angel, but in this case archangel, get busy. The offspring is called a nephilium, and they come to term much faster than the traditional 9 months that females usually carry their spawn. Kelly is on the phone with somebody from the manufacturer of the baby crib. Guy sounds like he could be the, voice double for the Swedish chef. And she's scared, but she is determined to have this child, even though she's pretty much knows that having this kid is going to kill her. And I don't mean that in the metaphorical sense of, oh, I'm having a baby, I feel like I'm going to die. No. When she has this baby, she is going to expire. And Castiel tells her that he will raise the baby, and he will raise the baby right. The baby will be raised to be good and be a good person. I don't, is that accurate? I'm not sure if calling it a person, I don't know, maybe? Being. We'll go with being for right now. That encompasses everything. We cut back to the Batcave where the Winchesters, and that means Sam, Dean, and Mary right now, are talking about Lucifer being free and, being on Earth, and the fact that Lucifer is in his old vessel, the vessel that he first had when he escaped hell, the vessel of a man named Nick. That's something that somebody brought that up. And is Nick still in there? Is Nick still in his body while Lucifer's using it as a vessel? Because I really kind of hope not. Because if he is in there, he's pretty friggin' barking mad by now, I would think. We cut to the place where Crowley's body has been buried. And as the Winchesters are talking about Crowley allegedly being dead, we see Crowley, we see that the rat that I was right about, which is housing Crowley's soul, right before Lucifer stabbed him, Crowley managed to flee the vessel he was in and wound up possessing a rat. Crowley's soul leaves the rat, goes into the ground, and Crowley breaks free from the earth. So Crowley's back. And amazingly, the rat just ran away. I was like, oh, the rat didn't keel over dead or anything. Yay! Yes, I'm cheering because a rat didn't die. I like animals. So what? Sue me. We see Sam calling Rowena because Rowena's the one that first did the spell that they thought put Lucifer back in hell for good. Obviously that didn't happen. Thanks to Crowley, actually. But it turns out that the person who's answering, Rowena's phone, which has a ringtone of Scotland the Brave, which I thought was very nice. It's Lucifer. Lucifer had found Rowena, tracked her down, and killed her. We see her burnt up body lying on the ground, and it's not a good look. Not a good look at all. And you can tell Sam is completely terrified that he is actually on the phone with Lucifer right now. And Lucifer is on the hunt for Cass and his son. And from the sound of it, Lucifer is not the slightest bit concerned that the Winchesters know that he's back. And he's very, smirky about the fact that he can tell Sam that he doesn't need Sam to be his vessel any longer, which may also be looked at as a veiled threat of, oh, by the way, that means I can kill you now and not worry about it. That the vessel he's in is not going to, rot or anything like that, thanks to all of the spells that Crowley put on it. And when Lucifer blithely hangs up, you can tell the Winchesters are all pretty much like, oh fuck, what do we do now? Castiel and Kelly come back from going to the store for a supply run, which involves buying pretty much every diaper in the state of Washington, from the look of it. Because as Castiel tells Kelly, from the 75 books that he read about childbirth and all that kind of stuff, everybody poops. Man, I really didn't need that this early in the episode, but there it is. Kelly has a moment where she's kind of having this moment of weakness or something like that, kind of a spasm. She touches the truck to straighten herself up. The thing is, as she takes her hand away and she and Cass walk into the house, this little trail of energy that kind of breaks away from the truck, I should say, and starts floating through the air. And I'm kind of looking at this and I'm like, that can't be good. That cannot be a good thing. The Winchesters are trying to come up with a plan of what to do next, since they're not really sure where Kelly is or Cass or anything like that. They know that what they'll need to look for is that, if an epithelium's going to be born, that usually that there are like all these signs and stuff starts happening, like really weird shit starts happening in the area around where this event is going to occur. We see later on that night, Castiel goes outside and touches this beam of energy, which is now in the back of the house, and it's just kind of like floating there. It's like a beam of light, like a bolt of lightning, or kind of like a force bolt, like that scene in Star Trek, like that scene in Star Wars The Force Awakens, when somebody shoots a blaster bolt at Kylo Ren and he stops it with the Force, and the bolt is just kind of hanging there in the air. Kind of picture that, but only vertical and not horizontal, and being yellow instead of white. And that's kind of what you have in the air. I know, I just did a whole Star Wars thing. I'm a warzy! Shoot me! Crying out loud, I can't help it. Castiel, from the look of it, does not know what this thing is, and reaches out and touches it, which I'm like, that was a horrible idea! Because he is all of a sudden someplace else. He's like in what looks like, some kind of a canyon or something. And he's attacked by this figure that for a second I was kind of like, Kurt? Because it kind of looked like Kurt Warner, aka Nightcrawler from the X-Men, until it got a little closer, and I'm like, well, fuck, that's not Kurt! Because it's this very scary looking demon with multiple horns and huge teeth, and I'm like, what the and this thing is strong, whatever it is, because it attacks Cass, and Cass winds up being saved because this demon gets shot in the back, and this figure approaches, and whoever it is, when Castiel sees them, he is totally and utterly shocked. We go to commercial as all of us are sitting there going, what the fuck just happened? Damn it! Some of us may have been using stronger words than that. Cut back to Kelly, who's inside the house and has no idea that Cass has been sucked off to who knows where. Kelly is recording a video for her son, who she is calling Jack. That's going to be his name. Jack, son of Lucifer. Boy, that doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? Anyway. Kelly records this message since she knows she's going to be dead, and she talks to her unborn child, and it's really very sweet. It's a very sweet scene. Very, very beautiful. Nicely done. Beautifully filmed. And all of the emotion and everything that's put into it by Courtney Ford, the young lady that plays Kelly, is really, really beautiful. You can tell that Kelly here is a young woman that is really, really in over her head, and she knows it, and she knows that she is facing a terrible situation, and I think the fact that she knows she's going to die, she's upset that she's going to die, but she's more upset that she's not going to be able to be there and be a mother to her son. And I thought that was really amazing and very, very beautiful. And I thought that Courtney really pulled that off nice. So kudos to her. All of a sudden, Kelly's hit with this very violent pain, and the bolt outside makes this flashing kind of thing, like power glowing sort of thing. The Winchesters are still, trying to figure out what needs to happen and what they need to do when they suddenly wind up being graced with Crowley's presence. That reunion doesn't go very well because Dean instantly is up and punches Crowley in the face wicked, wicked hard. And Crowley is told that his mother is dead, murdered by Lucifer, and he is extremely nonchalant about the fact that his mother has died. He's kind of he almost seems kind of disappointed that he wasn't the one that, got the chance to kill her. He almost winds up getting killed again by the Winchesters, but Sam's the one that stops Dean and Mary when he says that, Crowley's the one that did work the cage spell with Rowena, and that maybe he can be the one that can help them get Lucifer back into hell. And when Mary asks if he can't, what'll happen if he can't do it, Sam says, well, then we kill him. That's Sam. Always thinking. He's not just a pretty face, he's smart too. Crowley, basically, when Sam asks why he's there, and basically before that, when Dean and Sam and Mary try and figure out, what the hell was he thinking, not putting Lucifer directly back in the cage and, all the shit that happened since, Crowley's honest with them that he changed the spell that was supposed to put Lucifer back in the cage, put him in a vessel that he made because he wanted to keep Lucifer as he puts it, his own personal nuke. That there would be nobody that would try and challenge him for the throne of hell again if he had the devil on a short leash. And that obviously didn't work. Crowley tells them that he's sick of being king of hell. That, all of the whining and all of the demons trying to take over his throne and kill him and all this stuff like that. He's sick of it. And he tells them that when Sam asks why is he there, he says that whenever things are, going that wrong, that he knows where to place his bets, that he places them with the Winchesters, calling them big, beautiful, lumbering piles of flannel. I'm assuming somewhere there was a compliment in there. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. But he does tell them that if they'll let him slide about all the fact that basically all of the shit that's happened with Lucifer is kind of his fault, and the fact that Lucifer is free again, he'll make it worth their while. And by making it worth their while, he means that once they get Lucifer locked back in his cage, Crowley promises he'll seal the gates of hell. That the Winchesters will never have to deal with another demon on earth except for him. And when Mary says that she's kind of surprised he'd do that, Crowley says that, the demons have stabbed him in the back. He's going to stab them in every other orifice he can, and asks them if they have a deal. And we cut back to Kelly, who's searching the house for Cass, and she finds him because he all of a sudden he's right behind her, puts his hand on her shoulder, makes her jump, and I almost jumped up and hid behind the couch. I'm like, where the fuck did you come from? How the fuck did you get back? Where the fuck were you? No time for any of that, though, because she tells him that she thinks it's time. I'm like, oh, the time for, oh, fuck. I was like, oh, wait, oh, fuck, it's time. Fuck, fuckity fuck. This just got serious. More serious. The Winchesters find out about this strange power outage going on in Washington State, and they can trace it back to a small house that has been rented under the name James Novak, which instantly, Jimmy Novak, the Winchesters know who that is. And before they leave, they do decide, Dean makes the decision that Crowley should stay at the Batcave, and decides to make him stay at the Batcave by taking Ruby's knife and stabbing it through Crowley's hand to keep him there. A little more direct than I would have gone, but, it beats locking him in the pantry, I guess. We see Kelly lying on the bed, and Castiel is telling her that what she's dealing with right now are kind of like contractions. They're like flows of power kind of a thing. But it could take her a while to actually have the baby. Quite a while. Normally it takes, a woman can be in labor for hours, like up to 12 to 18 or even longer than that. And, considering the fact that that's a baby that happens when a man and a woman do it. We're talking about the union of a woman and an archangel, so who knows how long this could take. And Kelly, very sweetly, actually, thanks Cass for all he's done, and the lights start the lights go on, and the shaft of light outside, the lights have been kind of flickering, and they're still kind of doing that, and the shaft of light in the backyard, it's still there. It's just there. I mean, it's not moving, it's not pulsating, it's not doing anything else, it's just there. We see the Impala driving toward Washington as Kelly and Cass talk, and Castiel tells her about the world that he saw when the baby gave him some of its power. And Cass tells Kelly that it was a world without fear or hunger or hate, that it was paradise. Okay. I realize this might make me Patty pessimist here, but talking about a world without fear or hunger or hate also kind of suspiciously sounds like a world without human beings on it. I mean, a world without fear or hunger or hate or humans probably would be paradise to dogs and chickens and deer and alligators and other stuff like that. I think humans might be a bit annoyed, but I was like, for some reason that whole talk that Cass had about, a world without fear and hunger, and I'm like, I don't know why, this should be making me happy, but for some reason it's making me really, really friggin' nervous. The lights, which had been out, actually come back on as Kelly and Cass hear a car pulling up outside. Sam, Dean, and Mary come in the house and give Castiel the news that Lucifer is free. And as they're giving him this news, Mary hears Kelly start screaming, and she runs up to help her, obviously to help her and be with her and stuff like that. Castiel takes Sam and Dean outside, and they see the bolt in the yard, and Castiel explains what it is. It is a rip in time and space into an alternate Earth. Yeah. Okay. Now, on the scale of how bad could this be to holy fucking shit, this is holy fucking shit times about 50. And it turns out that it's a rip to an alternate universe where demons and angels have been fighting a war for years, and what's left of humanity is stuck in the middle. Castiel touches this portal bolt thing and takes them to this world, and the figure that we saw earlier, the being that saved Cass from that demon, appears and takes off the protective covering that it's wearing. It's Bobby Singer. And when Sam and Dean are, they're so relieved to see Bobby, Bobby looks at them and he doesn't know who they are. He has no idea. When Dean says that it's them, it's Sam and Dean Winchester, Bobby tells them that the only Winchester that he ever heard of, not met, heard of, was John. When Sam says that John Winchester was their father, Bobby doesn't believe them. He says that John's been dead for over 40 years. That the only reason he knew who John Winchester was because he used to hang around with a hunter named Mary Campbell, that when she would get drunk on moonshine sometimes she would talk about the only man she ever loved, a man named John Winchester, and that Mary's dead too, that she was killed about 10 years earlier by Azazel. And when Cass explains to Sam and Dean, this is a world where Sam and Dean never existed. This is a world they never saved. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Back in the real world, our world, the supernatural world, whatever, you know what I mean. Mary's with Kelly and can tell that the contractions are getting closer. And Kelly tells her that she's dying. She knows she's dying. And she tells her that that's all right, that she's accepted it. It turns out that the demon that Bobby killed earlier, saving Cass, is something called a tempter demon. I don't even want to consider what that means. And that Bobby kills both demons and angels and does it with a gun called Rufus. And that the gun is armed with angel-killing bullets. Bullets that have been cast from angel blades. And I don't even want to think about where those came from. Back at the house, Kelly is really, really in a lot of pain. We cut back to Sam and Dean, who come back to Sam and Dean and Cass, who come back from this other world, and they're greeted by Crowley, who says, who's basically like, well, had to, cut my hand, but I'm here. I don't even want to know how I'm like, you pulled a fucking knife out of your, ow, fucking dude, really? But, I mean, he's a demon, so I guess he's had worse. Castiel says that he has to talk to Kelly alone. We see Sam and Dean are talking, and Dean is saying that he, he's talking about the faith that everybody has, that Cass has this faith in Kelly and in the baby and stuff like that. And Dean says what he has faith in is them, meaning him, Sam, I'm assuming Mary. We see Castiel telling Kelly something, and then he kisses her on the head. It's very tender kind of a kiss. Castiel and the Winchesters go outside, and there's Lucifer. Lucifer kind of taunts at them for a little bit, and when Castiel tries to attack him, he just throws him aside. And Dean and Sam wind up running the other way. Lucifer follows after them with this basically kind of cat playing with a mouse attitude. Turns out it was a trap. Sam and Dean were luring him to the crack, the bolt, whatever you want to call it, the portal, and they wind up luring him to this other Earth where Dean has Rufus and shoots at Lucifer several dozen rounds of angel-killing bullets. And they're stopping Lucifer. They're not killing him, but they're at least slowing him down a little bit, while Crowley is performing a spell behind a rock to trap Lucifer in this alternate universe. Unfortunately, as I said, the bullets slow Lucifer down. They're not stopping him. And he winds up beating the living shit out of Dean. Crowley almost finishes up with the spell, but he tells Sam that there's one more component that is needed for the spell to work and to close the rift, and the spell is a life. He tells Sam and Dean to go and faces off against Lucifer. Lucifer tells Crowley that he had his chance and that he should have put him back in the cage. Crowley tells him that Lucifer's right, that what he's doing is personal. He tells Lucifer that he hates him and that he's going to enjoy wiping that smug look off of his face for good. And Crowley takes out a knife and stabs himself to death. And it takes Lucifer a second. Crowley kills himself with an angel blade. And it takes Lucifer a second to realize what is happening. And when he does realize, it's not pleasant, obviously. But suddenly, Castiel appears through the rift, charges at Lucifer, and with his angel blade drawn. And Dean is screaming for Cass to come back. Sam grabs him and they pulls him backwards. They fall back through the rift, and they fall back into their world. We see Kelly telling her son that she loves him, and she kind of, she kind of like lets out this scream, this final scream. You can tell she's giving birth, and there's a blinding flash of light, and Mary is thrown backwards by it. We see Castiel in the other dimension stabbing Lucifer. Sam and Dean are still outside in front of the rift. Castiel appears through the rift, and he's standing there in front of them with the rift behind him, and all of a sudden an angel blade pierces through Cass's body, coming out through his chest, and Lucifer is standing behind him as Castiel's body falls to the ground. And I swear you could hear Dean's heart just crack. Both Dean and Sam's heart just crack. And before Lucifer can do another thing, though, Mary is there, standing in front of her boys, like a mother should, like a mother lion standing in front of her cubs. And Mary's armed. She's got the Enochian-powered brass knuckles, the brass knuckles with the Enochian sigils carved into them, and she starts just punching the shit out of Lucifer over and over again. And it takes a second, but you realize what she's doing, and it's like, oh, fuck, shit, no, Mary, don't! She starts punching him and punches him enough that knocks him back and knocks her forward, and both Mary and Lucifer fall into the rift, into that other universe. And as they get up, the rift closes. The rift shuts. The spell apparently worked. Mary and Lucifer are trapped in that other awful earth. And we see Lucifer's eyes go red. And I swear my stomach just fell down into my shoes. Sam and Dean don't even have time to process the fact that they just lost their mother to probably the only thing that could be worse than death, knowing their mother is trapped in another dimension with the fucking devil. Sam runs back to the house because of this bright light. We see Dean standing there looking down at Castiel's body, looking just utterly, utterly crushed. Sam, inside the house, runs upstairs, runs to the room where Kelly was. Kelly's body is laying on the bed, and she looks really serene. I mean, peaceful, really peaceful. Like, you'd think there'd be blood everywhere and you know, or anything like that, or she'd be in pain. She looked like she was in pain when she died or something like that. No. She just looks really serene and calm. Sam, as a final act of dignity, reaches over and closes her eyes. Sam hears a noise and goes back out in the hallway, and there's footprints on the floor which look like the heel of the print. They're naked footprints, and they're not a child's size either. They're the size of an adult, maybe, or like a teenager, young adult kind of thing. And they're also glowing. The heels, in the heels, there's like this glow, like the burning ember of a dying fire. And Sam follows the footprints into the nursery. This really beautiful little room that we had seen Kelly painting earlier, getting it ready for the baby with a pretty tree on the wall and the baby's name and everything like that. And Sam looks and sees a figure. It looks like they're sitting in a chair in the corner of the room. What looks like a naked young man. And this figure is just sitting there so still. And it looks at Sam, and the eyes glow this golden color, and it smiles this incredibly chilling smile at Sam, who you can tell is really fucking scared, but he is standing his ground against whatever this is. And the episode and the season end. Wow. I am giving All Along the Watchtower 5 bouquets out of 5. Wow. This was just such an episode. It was unbelievable. Getting to see Jim Beaver back as Bobby, even if it wasn't our Bobby, was really something amazing. Serious kudos to Andrew Dabb, who wrote this episode. This left me screaming for more. It really did. It just left me totally screaming for more. I don't know where they're going to be going with this. I absolutely thought it was a fantastic episode. Once again, Jared Padalecki, Jensen Ackles were just so amazing. I'm really, really sad, though, if this truly is the last we're going to see of certain characters. I'm really, really sad if this is truly the end of Rowena. If, you know, and I don't really see how it could not be the end of Rowena. I don't see how she could get out of that whole thing this time, but you never know. Rowena's a clever witch, so Ruth Connell, if this really is the end of your character, I'm really sorry. I'll miss you. And It really sounds odd to say I'm going to miss a demon. If Crowley's last act was an act of self-sacrifice, was he really all that bad? Really? Yeah, he really kind of was. But he was so good at it. Mark Shepard, dude, you're just the balls. You are totally the balls. I love you, man. You're great. Once again, Samantha Smith. A lot of people have laid a lot of unfair hate at Mary, and I don't go along with that. If for nothing else, just the end of this episode where she's standing in front of her son, staring down the devil, telling the devil himself, "You will not hurt my boys." Damn. I mean, just damn. You are hardcore, and Samantha, you did amazing. Mark Pellegrino, no offense to other people who have played Lucifer, including Jared Padalecki, who did a fantastic job in the end. And no offense to Rick Springfield, who also just was fantastic earlier this season as one of the Devil's vessels. Mark, your Lucifer is just incredible. And you're a great actor, and I really appreciate all you do. Last but not least is Misha Collins as Castiel. I really don't want this to be the end. I don't want to say goodbye to Cass. I'm not ready. I mean, we're never ready to say goodbye to anybody. We try and tell ourselves we're ready when we know we're going to lose somebody in our life. We try and tell ourselves that we're ready to lose them. And I had a feeling somebody we really loved was going to go in this episode. But damn it, that really hurt. You know, that hurt way a lot more than I thought it was going to hurt. And I don't want to lose Cass. I want Castiel back somehow. But if it is the end and it is goodbye, thank you for everything you did. Misha says that it's not the end for Cass. I hope it's not. And a lot of people, when they think of Castiel, will always picture the images of Castiel in his moments of battle and his moments where he's radiating power, where we could see his wings, or like we saw him in the first part, and season 4, episode 1, Lazarus Rising. But there's going to be one scene, for me, that is always going to be what I think of when I think of Cass. And, I know some people might be kind of like, that's a strange scene to focus on or whatever, but, it's a scene where Cass has been staying with a family and just overnight stay kind of a thing with his powers drained, and he's talking with the little girl that's part of the family, and the little girl's describing a dream that she has. Now you have to figure at this point Cass is without his powers, and the little girl's talking with him, and at one point when he's talking with her, she says something and makes him smile. And whenever I think of Castiel, I think of that smile, and I think of how warm and genuine and tender and real and loving and kind it was. I'm going to hold that smile in my heart for the rest of my life. It was Castiel, but Misha, you gave us that smile too. I don't want you to go. And if that sounds silly and childish and dumb to get worked up over a fictional character, it's, oh well. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not exactly the most tightly wrapped present under the tree, so there's that. Jared and Jensen, both, as usual, Jared Padalecki did such an incredible job in this episode, because you know that Sam is terrified of Lucifer, and you know that Sam is always going to be like, I can't help but show you my fear, but I'm going to fight through it. And I love that about Sam, the fact that Sam is just so inherently brave. And that scene when Sam closes Kelly's eyes, it was just a simple moment of human dignity, and I thought it was so beautiful and so moving and so profound, and I just loved it. Jensen Ackles, as always, knocked it out of the park as Dean Winchester. When Dean is talking to the other Bobby and realizes this isn't the Bobby that they knew, this isn't the Bobby that helped to take care of them when they were younger, I think that hurts him more than any physical blow possibly could, until Castiel is killed right in front of him. I'm not even talking about the Destiel stuff. I'm not touching that. I'm leaving that way the hell over here. I'm just talking about the fact that Cass is his friend. That he's called Cass his brother. And just the way that he conveyed all of that, standing over Cass's body, it said so much and didn't need a single word to say it, and that was so beautiful. I really loved the end of season 12. I thought it was great. What it's going to lead to and where season 13 is going to go, who knows? But we'll all find out together, won't we? Okay, well, here we are. Obviously we have to talk about the other stuff that's going on, besides the fact that Supernatural had an amazing season, I thought. At the big to-do that they have talking about what's coming for next year and stuff like that, at the CW portion of that, it was announced by Jared and Jensen that one of the episodes in season 13 is going to be a cartoon that they're crossing over with Scooby-Doo. And a lot of people are really excited about this, and a lot of people have said, great, terrific, yay, yahoo, etc., and so forth. My attitude is I'm on the fence. I love Supernatural, and Scooby-Doo was part of my childhood back in the... Never mind which decade. Do the math yourself, because I'm sure as fuck not helping you. I know every season Supernatural does one episode that is kind of their silly episode. There's one episode that's more comedy than a lot of other episodes in the series, which would be more dark and serious. And I'm assuming this is going to be that episode. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Supernatural getting a season 13. But my big concern is that this is going to be all anybody talks about leading up to this episode. I don't want that to happen. There's so much more to talk about. What's going on with Mary? What happened with Lucifer? What kind of a path is Jack going to take? Is Cass really dead? Is Cass coming back? Are we ever going to see this other Earth again? And other questions that still haven't been answered, like what the hell is going on with Michael in hell? Hello? There's still an archangel in hell somewhere, along with the Winchester's half-brother Adam. And also, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think there is still one more Prince of Hell left. I know 2 of them got killed in season 12, but I know there's at least one more out there. I'm pretty sure. But we'll have to wait and see. But I want all of that to get discussed more than just one episode of Supernatural coming up in season 13. Although I do have to say the artwork looks pretty neat. So there's that. If you have any questions, comments, queries, complaints, chocolate, money, anything you'd like to send my way, please send it to platinumroselle@yahoo.com. Put PRG in the header and I'll know you want me to read it on the air. Or just send me a note anyway, if you want to. I'd love to read it. That'd be great. You can follow me on Twitter if you'd like, at platinumroselady@twitter.com. You can check me out over there. And hopefully you will check out my stuff over at fanfiction.net under Platinum Rose Lady in the author section. You can look me up there as well. And I hope you will check out the other shows I'm involved with, which are Subject Cinema with my dear sweet long-suffering husband TC, who puts up with an amazing amount of shit, including my ramblings. It's a fun movie show where we talk about movies and do movie reviews and all kinds of crazy fun things. There's also Front Row 5 and 10, which is our list show, and we have lots of fun over there. There are other members to our family, including Cavebabble over at Cavebabble.com, which is Eric and Valerie, the Lion family. They're on hiatus right now, but their older episodes are up, so I hope you go check them out too, because they're really great people. And that is going to do it for me for this week. I will be back next week to talk about Supernatural's Season 12, look back. So I hope you will come back then, and I hope you will check out my show and all our shows and my stuff online, and I hope everybody has a great week coming up. This is Platinum Rose Lady signing off for another week, reminding you to love the ones you hug the ones you love, and take some time to stop and smell the roses. See you later. Bye.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.